Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, you're probably wondering, what in the world does she have going on there? Well, I just returned from my walk, and it started raining outside, so I had to put my hood on. And so while I was on my walk, the Lord was speaking with me about witchcraft in the church. So I saw myself in the mirror, and I go, wow, that'd be a great get up to keep on because you look kind of witchy, warlocky, um, and a hot mess. But anyway, so I thought I'd keep it on for the effects of this video relating to the topic of witchcraft in the church. Now, I was sitting down reading an article prior to taking my walk this morning. I stopped at the coffee shop. In this article, it was talking about suicide, and it stated that 34,000 people committed suicide in the United States in 2007. Of that 34,000, 31,000 were white. So, which leaves the other 3,000 as other nationalities. So, from that article and from that statistic, one can assume that more white people in this country commit suicide than any other nationality. Okay, and I say that because concerning the black church in particular, and concerning I'll change that to concerning black people, African American people, you don't find on a large scale that we really have much to do with witchcraft and the occult. You know, if a statistic were to be taken, my guess would be that it would be similar to that suicide statistic, where you'd have a very large group of white participants as opposed to African American and other nationalities. Okay? Now, I believe that what we're finding today more and more is not simply false doctrine, uh, heresy, but we're finding, I believe, actual witchcraft and occult activity in the church. And I'm going to be specific and say the black church, because it is probably the most unsuspecting place that one would think you would find witchcraft and occult activity. And I believe it is on the rise. And one of the reasons I think that it is there is because of it being so unsuspecting. And because the enemy knows it is unsuspecting. He already knows that, the majority of black people don't suspect that other black people dibble and dabble in the occult and in witchcraft. And so we put up this front, of, praise the Lord and, a high time in God and in preaching the word and in the worship and the praise. And we put up this, we can do it really, really good. And so who would suspect ever that behind all that is really witchcraft? Who would suspect that really behind all that is a witch or a warlock leading it all? Who would suspect it? Because, as black people, as African Americans, we don't do that. We don't involve ourselves in witchcraft and in the occult. Now, that is a generalization because, like I said, from the suicide article, most whites commit suicide. Okay, that's the statistic. That's the fact. So I'm not saying, to all those African Americans out there who do practice witchcraft and the occult. I'm not trying to say that there aren't those of you who do, because I know there are. Um, I want to give you your props. I know you do. And you're blatant with it, and you are, you know, very uh, true with it. And so I know that's what you do. So I don't want to lump you in the category of, the rest of us who just don't do it. Anyway, and I don't mean any disrespect by that at all. I'm just simply stating that, generally speaking, we don't. Okay. And if you do, then you're the minority. Those are just simply the facts. Nothing derogatory toward anybody that, any African American that practices witchcraft and the occult. Those are just the facts. Okay. Um, so anyway, it is very unsuspecting in the church, which is the reason why you see such a massive following of false doctrine, a massive following of heresy. Those who are preaching false doctrine and heresy, there are massive followings because the witchcraft and the occult activity is unsuspecting. And the first way that they're unsuspecting is because they're African American. And we just don't do that. Not unless you're from, Louisiana or something where it's more prevalent among African American people. But at any rate, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I just wanted to just put that out there, that one of the reasons that this massive following is happening behind this false doctrine and heresy is, the truth of the matter is, a lot of it is run by witches and warlocks. Many of them are ministers of Satan, and they're unsuspecting because they're African American. They're unsuspecting because, if one thing we know how to do is church. We know how to do church. We know how to we just know how to do it. There's a method to that madness, and we know how to do it. We have perfected it. That's why you find someone that just really is not biblically sound at all can get up and lead thousands and thousands of people because they know how to do church. And the sad thing is that all it takes nowadays is just to know the protocol, to know how to do it. You really don't have to be biblically sound. You just have to know how to do church. And that's one thing that has been a part of our problem in the African American community, is that we know how to do church. And if it looks like, oh, that's church, if it sounds like that's church, then a lot of times we just go with it without any question, without any, real consideration for is it really church? Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and you be blessed. Bye-bye.